Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Ann Harder, and it is my great delight to be your MC today. On behalf of the Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce, we are so excited that you are here with us to celebrate our Leading Waco Women. I want to take a moment first to recognize our wonderful sponsors. Our presenting sponsor is Bancorp South. Our platinum sponsors are Ascension Providence and Baylor University. Our diamond sponsor, Cargill Protein. Our sapphire sponsors are JRBT, Eliserve, Extraco Banks, and Kelly Realtors. Additional sponsors and contributors are Action Rental, Baylor Club, Baylor Bear Sports Properties, Camille Johnson Realtors, Community Bank and Trust, the First National Bank of Central Texas, Green Life Interiors, McLennan Community College, SpaceX, and U.S. Representative Bill Flores. Thank you all so much for being here at the Leading Waco Women Empowering Summit hosted by the Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce. Now, Leading Waco Women is a three-part series. It's created to bring female community leaders together to honor and celebrate one another while providing tools to help us grow into better women, leaders, mentors, and servants. This series focuses on three overarching components of leadership, and that would be serving, empowering, and mentoring. Now, today's event marks the end of the 2019-2020 series, and we're so excited about all the plans we have in store for next year, the 2021 series. It will kick off in February with the Empowering Summit, and it will continue with the Mentoring Summit in April, and then culminate a year from now with the Serving Summit and the ATHENA Leadership Award. Again, that'll be next November. Now, today's summit will focus on the empowering component of leadership. We'll hear from a panel of local businesswomen. But before we go any further, I'd like to take this moment to give a very special thank you to the committee. They've worked so hard to make this vision a reality. Please help me thank Priscilla Stinnett with Bancorp South, Mary Ellison with Syntax Roofing, Susan Sadler with Green Life Interiors, Jana Whitaker with Ascension Providence Foundation, Raina Reyes with Emeritus Inc., Amanda Haygood with Bancorp South, Kayla Spence with Free Flight, and Bronda Hayes with Providence Hospice. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the craziness of 2020. I was inspired by a few words from Saul Rexius. Now, he's pastor at the Salt Company Church of Ames, Iowa. It's pretty easy to feel buried by our circumstances. However, Pastor Rexius paints a picture of a farmer planting a seed. Did the farmer bury the seed? Well, yes, but he also planted it. Instead of feeling buried by our situation, we must realize the pain and heartache that has piled upon us is not meant to bury us, but to plant us in a way that will allow us to grow and prosper into who we are meant to be. As we stop and take in the circumstances around us, just ask yourself, will you allow yourself to be buried or to be planted? With that great segue, I now have the honor of introducing our panel to you for today's discussion. Four amazing women who have planted their roots very deep in the Waco community, and they have a lot to share with us today on how to empower ourselves, empower your family, and those around you. First of all, Tricia Capps with the Grounds Guys of Waco, Patricia Miller, McLennan County Commissioner, Jill King with Yaxx Inc. and Bear Arms Brewing, and Jennifer Vera, Action Rental Center. Thank you, ladies, all for being with us. Well, let's go to the questions. Now, this will be for each of the ladies. First of all, to tell us a little bit about yourself, what brought you to Waco, how you got started on the path to a leadership role that you play right now, and were there people along the way that served to empower you? And let's just go ahead and start in order. Tricia?
Thank you. So I am the new owner of the Ground Skies of Waco, a neighborly company. My family, my husband, my stepdaughter would have brought me to where I am today without their encouragement and them standing behind me each step of the way. I definitely could not do this. But I would say the thing that has brought me to the path that I'm on as a leader is watching my parents growing up. They owned their own business, and it was very successful, as well as were leaders in our community and church. So that helped me to realize that there's more to leadership than just business. You can lead in your community, you can give back to your community, and that was a big thing for me to see, to show me how much you can do as a leader in a community, not just in your business aspect. Now, as far as Waco and roots, I was born and raised here in Waco. I left for college like most teenagers do, and then came back in 2015 to be with my family.
Oh, very good. All right. Patricia, tell us about yourself.
Well, I am a product of Waco schools. I wasn't born here, but I've lived here all my life. I was a political science major in college, and one summer I came home, and a church member of mine, I think what has really established my inner core is a combination of my church, my family, and my neighbors. And it was a lady from church who said, I've got a campaign that I want you to work on. I think you will find it interesting. And so I volunteered on my first campaign, and it was when Commissioner Lester Gibson ran for city council. And from there, I was just sort of bitten by the bug of community service, of making an impact to make things better. When you don't think that things are going in the right direction, when you see the lives of individuals that need help, I learned through working on that campaign and subsequent campaigns and in his office that in this career that I have taken, you can make a difference in the lives of people.
Absolutely. Jill.
Thanks, Anne. Wow, that's kind of a loaded question. There's so many ways you could take it. But today is my third anniversary being in Waco, so so glad to be here. Thanks so much. I was born and raised in Southern California, and please don't hold that against me. I'm not trying to California your Texas. We moved here for a reason, right? We absolutely love it here, and we have laid down roots. We bought Bear Arms in January, but we're just so grateful to be here to Waco. We actually chose Waco because of its, global notoriety, its absolute beauty, its growing population, and we just really felt like this was a place that we could call home. And so being here 3 years, I never one day regret the decision moving here. So it's just fantastic. Prior to being here in Waco, I am, I hate to even say this, but 30 years in my career. So, yes, I was 5 when I started, but we won't talk about that. But I've been a marketing executive, and I think it was 28, I had my first VP of marketing position. So I never really set out to be a leader. I think it just kind of came naturally for me. It was truly just brunt force. I worked really hard. I worked long hours. I worked smart. For me, it was not about my hourly, my employers didn't pay me for an hourly wage. It was more of what I put out, what the outcomes were of what I contributed to the company. So I think slowly but surely people realized that it's like, wow, Jill really leads by example. And so I tried to base my entire career on that, to just, show people that, this is what it takes, and to just really work hard. And so I think that's how leadership came about. I did have a couple of mentors along the way, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But I think it's really just about, drive and hard work and work ethic has been the things that have put me in those leadership roles. And also, when opportunities present themselves, you got to be prepared for good luck. So you take that opportunity and you make something of it. So I think those are the things that have driven me in my career. So what else? Why did I move to Waco? About me. Oh, a little bit more about me. 30 years, I said. I've specialized in high tech. I kind of fell into this position working for a high-tech PR agency when I was 18 and found that I absolutely loved it. I have been fortunate to be on the cutting-edge marketing teams of introducing voice over IP to the world. So we talk over the internet because of things that I did in the early 90s. We work from home today because I was also on the cutting edge of VPN technology. And even most recently, I've been an early adopter of marketing technologies like cloud and artificial intelligence, machine learning. So this is all waves of the future. So, I mean, I have worked with companies that actually are curing cancer and are predicting the weather and are just doing amazing things to actually change our world for the better. So I've just had a fantastic career, and it's great to finally, be in a position that I can give back to the next generation. So I love this time of my life.
Excellent. Jennifer, tell us about yourself.
Absolutely. So my name is Jennifer Vera, and most of you already know me. I was born and raised in Waco, Texas, and my background prior to Action Rental was banking and insurance. I would say my husband and I were high school sweethearts. We had a surprise during our high school time together, and I would say that is what motivated us to do better in our lives. Our children definitely empowered us to be successful and to be able to provide a good life for them. But while I was in the banking and insurance industry, I was an ambassador for the Waco Chamber, and I would say that actually helped me a lot in the leadership role that I'm in today, because I was able to see many examples of successful business people, men and women alike, and they kind of helped me develop really good habits, and just kind of the networking with those people really helped us a lot. But I would definitely say the biggest motivation for us were our children.
Very good. So we have another question for all panelists, and we'll start with Patricia this time and kind of work our way that way. Please, personally and professionally, how have you had to adapt or adjust to the challenges this year of COVID?
Well, as the county commissioner for Precinct 2, one of my functions is that we provide road and bridge services in the unincorporated areas of eastern rural McLennan County. And so I have Axtell, Riesel, Hallsburg, and Mart, and we are classified as essential personnel. So that means that although our county was stricken with COVID-19, our work did not stop. People still expect us to deliver those services, and justifiably so. So one of the things, though, that I found myself doing was to ensure that although we had to be out there, coming and going back home to, going to work, and then being out with the public, and then going back into their households, is a constant daily danger. And so I had to make sure that they were safe, that we adhered to all of the protocols that we were given as far as PPEs. I had to make sure one of the things we did is we streamlined our work so that the employees could social distance, through their 12 hours, because we work a 12-hour day. Along with that, in establishing the safety for the road and bridge crew, sitting on the commissioner's court, I did have to acquire the information that it took to make educated decisions on behalf of all of the citizens of McLennan County, along with my family. And that's been a hard adjustment because I'm a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother, and we're used to seeing the family. But my husband and I are also in that population that really needs to social distance. And so it's been a little difficult not seeing everyone normally like we usually do, but we've learned to adjust with Zoom and Skype. And so I think COVID-19 has helped my generation to become more technical savvy. But it has been an adjustment, and I would say, though, I appreciate how McLennan County has answered some of the requirements that we have placed on citizens. I want to thank everyone for helping us to to not be the hotspots that some areas are. I think we've been very attentive and very careful, and so I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for doing that. But it has been an adjustment in personally having to make sure that I'm safe, my family's safe, and then professionally making sure that my employees are safe and that the policies that I support keep the community safe.
Jill, you have a couple of very different kind of businesses. How has COVID-19 affected them?
Yeah, it's really interesting where I'm on both sides of the gamut, right? So owning Yaxx, we have really thrived in this environment, and Bare Arms, not so much. And we'll go into a little bit of detail, but a quote comes to mind, and I will paraphrase. This is the CEO of Intel. He said that, in disasters, a great company thrives. A good company will survive, and a bad company does not. And so I figured out that Yaxx was a great company. We grew 30% this year, but a lot of it is obviously hard work and knowing that your clients can come to you. But they all needed to actually address COVID because, they need to let their customers know that they are alive and well. So they've been rebranding, they've been remessaging, getting really specific on what it is that they do and be really focused. And so they came to Yaxx to say, hey, help us remessage, help us rebrand, and then double down on their marketing efforts so that, again, during this crazy world, that they could actually connect with their customers and, be able to continue to be business as usual for them, and still be able to make their revenue goals that they had planned for 2020. And so, I'm grateful we've added new staff to Yaxx, and it's been a kind of a crazy ride that it's just like, woohoo, we should be, celebrating from the rooftops. But, of course it's COVID, so everything puts a little damper on those kinds of things. And so then, we bought Bare Arms because it was acquirable, and we announced in January, so we rebranded, we redid the tap room, and it was like, oh, this is so fantastic. It was kind of like, I'd like to hang out here, right? Just in time for COVID. So we've been shut down for 7 months. And so the only revenue that we had was really, crowler sales from curbside. So we really appreciate the community for supporting us. But it was just like, hey, we're going to invest. We are here for the long haul here. We moved to Waco for a reason, right? And so it's like, we want to make sure that Bare Arms is around for a long time. It is the oldest brewery in town. So we wanted to make sure that it was still around and thriving when COVID was gone. So we continue to invest in the company. One of the things that we're kind of proud of is that even through COVID, we kept on our staff the entire time. We paid for their salaries because at Bare Arms, they're family. And we really believe that. And so it's like, hey, we're going to invest in you because we know that in return, you're going to be there for us. And now that we're open, we've had the best month. This is the first month that we've been open, all 31 days. It was October. And we had the best month that we've had since, February. So we're super excited about just the growth opportunity and moving forward. So, some of the things that we had to do during COVID was, again, just invest in our people. We invested in the brewery for the long haul. We partnered with people because we knew we needed to open. So it's like we relicensed and we became a restaurant, not a brewery. And so we partnered with a barbecue place, Tex Howard's Barbecue, which we're just thrilled to have them on board. If you guys haven't been there, the barbecue is amazing. So you can't get much better than barbecue and beer. So, it's just a great place to hang out. So you can have great beer, you can have great food, and in a great environment. And so those are the kind of things that we kind of did through COVID just to get through and just say, we're not here to just be a fly-by company. We want to invest in our community, and we want to be here. And we're grateful to be in Waco and be called Wacoans, even though we've only been here 3 years. So it's been a wild ride this year, but it's nice to see the gamut. So I can empathize with people that have struggled, and I can empathize people who have, had successes throughout this year. And it's hard to be excited, but then be like, oh. But so I felt a little bit, two personalities this year. And then personally, I think, we've all had pretty dark days personally. And so I think one piece of advice that I would give someone is just dig deep. Wake up every morning and choose to be happy and move forward, because that's what it takes. In life in general, you got to dig deep, but even in times of crisis, you dig even deeper and you just make it happen.
Jennifer, kind of the watchword has been, pivoting. Businesses have had to be light on their feet because of COVID. How has this whole situation affected you?
Absolutely. So if you would have asked me this question like in March, I was freaking out, panicked. I actually still remember March 16th when we got to the office. Beyond Action Rental Center, my husband and I own Fossil Creek, and we own Airbnb properties. And so coronavirus was a gut punch because it completely shut down events. And let's just be real, Airbnb, no one was traveling. And so in March, it was, we really thought it was the end. I actually messaged Rachel, and she was great. We had several big events that we had just gotten through. And so in February, we had actually launched ARC Couture. We had just invested over $100,000 in our company to create a new line of couture rentals. And so it was predicted to be the best year for events, so far. And so we were really excited and thrilled. And so in March, all the events were shut down. And that's what my husband and I both work in events. And so we adapted, and we too kept on all of our employees, because the reality is that when we were working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, our employees were there with us, and they would lose time with their families to make sure our events got taken care of. And so during the whole course of this, we made sure that our employees were taken care of, and we would come last. But that didn't necessarily have to happen, because what we did was I talked to God in the shower. I don't know if any of y'all do, but that's when I talked to him, and he said, he's like, you've been really spoiled. Like, I've just been handing things to you. And, the truth of the matter is that when you first started, you hit the pavement, and that's what you need to do. And so my husband and I, we went to factories, and we went to different companies, and we started setting up fever check tents, extended break rooms for factories, and all kinds of stuff. So where the fun event atmosphere wasn't happening, our tents really helped push us through those months. And so we started setting those up, and we were able to get through those months. Now, I won't say it's been all amazing and all of that good stuff, because once we do a lot of corporate events, and obviously corporate events aren't happening. So our months have been lower than usual, but we have definitely adapted to that, and God is good, and He's taken care of us throughout all of this. And I agree with you. You set your own destiny. We've had our personal situations with the coronavirus, and we've lost family members to the coronavirus, unfortunately, but you learn to adapt, and you wake up every morning, and I agree with you 100%. You have to make the decision to do better and to do more, and so I think you hit that very well.
Thanks. I agree.
Yeah, Tricia, outside, one of the best places to be. so that part is good. So how have you had to adjust for COVID?
Well, so I took over the grounds guys as of April 1st, of this year. So I did this, and everything was going crazy, obviously globally. But luckily, being a landscape and lawn care company, we are outside, and we are a service, so we are a necessity. So we got to continue working, which was great, and we did have an uptick, which was interesting in different things, because people were home seeing, well, I don't like the way my lawn looks, so I want it to look better. So we did get a little more business than what we normally do in our off-season time. The hardest struggle I think we had was being able to find employees. It was really hard to find someone that would come and work and be willing to work and stay on full time. So that was the hardest struggle as far as for the business side. For personal side, luckily all my family has been very healthy. We've had a few friends that have had issues, but the biggest challenge I had was with not being able to do the social events. So like I mentioned before, community service and giving back to the community is very important to not only myself but my family. And I love doing all of the community service thing through volunteer. And so since we haven't been able to get together or have events or have meetings or do gatherings, it's been a little difficult not to have that social interaction and be a part of those many different things that I like to do as far as the charity side. But at the same time, it did give me more time to run the business that I just bought. So it was a little give and take there.
Very good. Patricia, this is for you. Talk to us about some of the challenges you may have faced in the early days of your career, and what's one piece of advice you'd share to empower women in any position or profession?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, to just kind of give you some background, there are 1,014 county commissioners in the state of Texas. Only 50 of them are women, and only 6 of them are African American women. So I work in a men's world, and politics itself, I believe, historically has been a man's arena. What I can say is that there's a sense of a perceived incompetence, I believe, when women come into this area. And I have felt in the past sometimes that my inclusion has been not because of the value of my contribution, as much as, just polite to allow me to be here. What I can say, though, to young women who have a calling for politics, who have a calling for service in this environment, is that to just believe in yourself, believe in your calling. The old saying from Hamlet, to thine own self be true. Believe in what you have to offer. And what I have found, and it is true, is that kind of like Marianne Williamson, and I'm going to paraphrase like Jill did, and that is, I don't think it is our darkness that we're afraid of. It's our light that we're afraid of. I think women have been raised to believe that we should shy away from believing in our own success, for grasping and understanding that we can succeed. Excuse me. And so I would say that it is true. If you embrace who you are and you become fully who you are, I think you do empower other women to embrace who they can be and fully become who they can be. What I have seen over the years, though, in this environment is that in learning to just wait the conversation out, allow the debate or the dialogue to proceed naturally, I now am invited to share my input. And my input is no longer just a layer of what has already been said, as much as in listening, it can at times be an additional insight. And I think that is a more valuable contribution. So it is an area that a lot of women shy away from, but I see a lot of younger women are really engaged in this career, and that gives me hope and that gives me light. Because this is a place where if you want things to change, if you want to see your ideas set out on a grander scale for others to benefit from your beliefs and your thoughts, this is a great place to do it. But if you're going to get into this environment, you have to believe in yourself and believe in the impact that you can make.
Absolutely. Jill, talk to us about some of the challenges you may have faced in the early days of your career. And do you have one piece of advice you'd share to empower women in any position or profession?
Sure. Being in tech 30 years ago, it was like you. It was definitely a man's world. Often, if not always, I was the only woman in the room. Always. Yeah. But I was really fortunate to be raised by a father who said, I was really short. I mean, I'm still short. I'm 4'11" on a good day. And my dad always told me, he's like, don't let that bother you. Don't let it bother you that you're a girl. Just go beat the boys. And I found when I was young that I wanted to be faster than them. I wanted to just, climb that tree just like them. I wanted to go ride motorcycles just like them and drive fast cars and just be, just as I'm just like a guy. Who cares, if I'm a girl? And so that kind of gave me, going into my career, the perception that I don't see gender. And so it wasn't that it's like, hey, I'm a woman and I deserve that. It was, I'm a human and I deserve this because of my merit. And kind of going back to my earlier comments that, I just worked harder than most. And it wasn't because I wanted to beat the boys. I wanted to achieve my own personal career goals. And so I worked harder, I worked smarter. If I didn't know something, I would work very long hours to figure it out, to learn it. And it wasn't because I just didn't want anyone to know that I didn't know that. It was like, oh, sure, I could do that. But then, you just go figure it out. And even no matter how long it takes you. And, if you're a salary, sometimes you're making $1 an hour. But you know what? You persevere in the end. And so I just never let it bother me that I was a woman, and nor did I make it an issue. And so coming back to my leadership comment, that it's just like you lead by example and you win your colleagues' respect and your leaders as you were growing up. So, gender was not a big thing for me. And so I think if I have something to share with women today, it's ask for what you want and be true to yourself, but also deliver, right? So you got to back it up. If you say, hey, I want this, you needed the experience or the drive or the know-how or something to back up what you want. And if you don't have it, go get it. There's all kinds of online learning. There's all kinds of mentorship out there. That was not a big thing for me when I was coming through the ranks. Women, especially in tech, became very territorial. It was, I'm queen bee and don't you dare step in this is my territory. And so you kind of got, whoa, but nowadays it's so wonderful that women will collaborate with one another and they, put a hand out to say, hey, I'm here to help you. So my goodness, take advantage of that. It's like, I didn't have that. And so, you can be a mom, you can be a career woman, you can have it all today because there's opportunity. And so I would say just take the bull by the horns and ride it.
Oh, wow. All right, we're going to skip around a little bit. Tricia, this is for you. How have you been able to utilize your position as a business professional to empower those around you? And if you can, provide an example of someone you've been able to help or empower along the way.
Well, actually, recently, a colleague of mine, she told me that I gave her the encourage to step out and own her own business. I was extremely excited that I could do that. I had no idea that she was even that much, into her own thing and wanting to do her own business. But she actually helped me out with some of what I was dealing with going through this year. She's an HR professional. So she was very helpful when I was looking for employees, like I had mentioned before. And I asked her, well, you know what? I'll just pay you a consulting fee. Just help me out. And she's like, okay. And then shortly after, actually this week, she called me and she said, I have my own consulting company now and I'm doing HR consulting. I was like, well, that's great for you. I'm so glad I could help you out. But I didn't even think about it. It was just, I needed help. I went to someone. I knew I could utilize their help. So the fact that I could inspire someone to go out and do something on their own is a real honor. Because, I don't look at that when I'm doing what I'm doing. I just saw that what I was doing, and before I took over the company, I loved what I was doing. I was a jack of all trades. I did everything for every company I worked for. I ended up doing a little bit of everything. So over the years, I was just like, you know what? I think it's time for me to do my own thing. I'm doing the same thing I would do for every other company I worked for. It's time for me to do that now. And so the fact that I gave her that encouragement to step forward is very exciting.
That's great. Jennifer, how have you been able to utilize your position as a business owner to empower those around you? And if you can, you provide an example for us of someone you've been able to help along the way.
Absolutely. I think more than anything, it's leading by example, trying to do what's right. My husband and I, our company, we do a lot for the community. We donate money, we sponsor events, all that good stuff, volunteer for different organizations. And I think that that's the right thing to do. When you're blessed with something, you should give back. as a teen mother and as a Hispanic woman, I don't really think much was expected of me, and I kind of used that as a way to kind of push myself. And so I use those same lessons learned, I use to help empower other women that might be in the same situation. We have, several people that look up to us and will come to us and ask us advice about businesses and stuff like that. And we've had several friends and, colleagues of ours that have gone into business for themselves because we've been able to kind of, help them get through that. The truth of the matter is it's been since 2006 since I've worked for any company. We've been in business for ourselves from that time on. And you have to, be willing to work hard. And, when someone tries to pull you down, you use that as a way to push further ahead. And the advice I could give, I guess, to women would be to set goals for themselves. I think that's where this new generation now is lacking. I have a 25, a 24, and an 18-year-old, and none of them really ever learned about goals at school or, things like that. And I remember that's really what helped me achieve a lot in life. I was constantly setting goals, whether we had long-term goals, short-term goals, a daily goal, and just learning to succeed in those goals and push further. And then, it became a habit. You set your goal, you accomplish it, and then you just move forward to the next one. And I think that's kind of what we need to be teaching this next generation.
Very good. Patricia, what has served you most to prepare you for the leadership roles that you've had throughout your career?
And we keep discussing the theme of leadership, and I never really saw myself as a leader. And I guess I never really saw this pathway, but I embrace my responsibilities. I think I'm not going to get hung up on the word leader or leadership, but I can tell you that the people and the experiences that we have along our life's journey, I think they all serve to help us when we get to that point. Another quote, I'll paraphrase from Winston Churchill, when he says that to everyone there comes a season where you'll be tapped to do something that's fitted to your talent. And what a shame if that period should find you not ready for that opportunity, which would be your greatest moment. That's a severe paraphrase. But in essence, I think it's what we learn along our life's journey that prepares us for where we are placed. And sometimes we don't realize that will be the place that we'll end up. But if we have taken advantage of the people that we have met, then we'll be able to rise to the occasion. And I really do feel there were two people extremely instrumental in my professional career, and that was Dr. Frances Worthy at the Women's Resource Center. And she was really instrumental in making me be an independent thinker. And a lot of times we ask that on an interview for a job, are you an independent thinker, are you a self-starter? And people tell us yes, and then when you hire them, you can tell them no, whatever. It seems kind of glib, but it is a valuable tool, and she taught me how to be an independent thinker and a self-starter. Then when I landed the job with Commissioner Gibson, and he just sort of like Jill, he only has two speeds, I guess. One is 0 and the other is Mach 5. Yeah. And so you either kept up or you got left behind.
That's right.
But what he opened me up to the whole world of politics and to political thinking, and how to be astute in situations where you think you're really not learning, but it's in those moments that you're really learning the most. And so I can say to both of those individuals, thank you for the really hard lessons that I endured, but they helped prepare me to be as comfortable as I sometimes can be in a position that I never thought I would have. But, and so if I were to speak to younger women or any age woman who has decided that this may be a pathway to be in politics, to own your own business, it would be to value the experiences and the people that you chance to meet along your life journey. You'll be surprised at the things that you will lean back on and remember that are really instrumental. And I remember when I was running for office, and Bill Whitaker with the Waco Trib, he asked me a question. He said, if you would you share with us what some of the secrets Commissioner Gibson shared with you? And I went, oh, no, I'm not going to share any of my secrets. But I will tell you this one thing he told me, and it has proven to be true. He said, irregardless of what the issue is, if at the forefront of your mind is how will this benefit the people that put me here, how will they be the day after this vote? If that is where you are centered, you will never make a mistake with your vote. And so I would say that I did not realize it, but on the back end looking at it, it's the experiences and the people that you meet along your life's journey.
That's right. Jennifer, tell us about a business tactic or strategy you've executed well and how it may have resulted in empowering others around you.
I would say, as you all know, I can be well-winded, but I think that actually is a good business tactic. When you are well-winded with a client or with a vendor or different colleague, you build relationships with them. And I think I'm really, really good at that. Some of my closest friends are clients of mine that I met, whether they were a bride of mine or through corporate events or whatever, having conversations with them and then building those relationships actually continue. They'll continue to do business with you. And I think that's been good. I think that, people see that. I treat everyone equally, and I think that it just sets a good example for others to do the same. But I would say building relationships with your clients and really kind of helps your business be successful.
Tricia, kind of the same question, a business tactic or strategy you've executed well and how it might have resulted in empowering people around you.
Well, one of the companies I worked for in the Austin area, when I first came on, they were struggling. They had a lot of debt. They didn't really have a future going forward. And so I took the skills that I had learned, from my parents, from college, from previous jobs, and I helped them implement a new structure, a new plan, and help them be able to get out of debt. And within 3 years, they were profitable. So taking that experience and doing that with a small company kind of gave me the step forward to do what I'm doing now. I learned a lot at the companies after that just to help me figure out a little bit more of a bigger business, because that was a much smaller business, to kind of get a grasp on more of the marketing things and different things like that they really didn't have in the smaller business. But with that, I was able to help that company become more than what it was before and kind of give the owner himself the empowerment to learn, okay, this is how you budget, this is how you do quotes and different things like that. So to give him that leg up and be able to see that he could do it, because after I left, he was not happy. And he kept asking me if I would keep doing everything I was doing from Waco. And I was like, I'm sorry, no. But he and I are still really great friends. He still calls me every now and then and asks me a few things. But working with him was a delight. Which I've worked for a few different companies, and that was probably the best boss that I had, because not only did I learn a lot, he learned a lot too, and we learned a lot about each other, ourselves going through that together, and just, like I said, giving me the knowledge that I have now in order to do what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Jill, what has served you the most to prepare you for the leadership roles that you've had throughout your career?
Wow. I can take that many directions. Let's talk about people who have mentored me and who have helped me, because I think that's who has given me the opportunity to lead. First, my mom and dad. I lost my dad at 15, and my mom was a housewife. No, there's nothing wrong with that. She worked hard, she raised a family, and she served my dad, in his business, and she did a fantastic job. But she didn't even have a high school education. She married my dad at 16. And so I looked at that, and, we really struggled. I was the last child at home. I'm the baby, and we really struggled in life. And I love my mom, and I respect her dearly. She was an example of what I didn't want to be. And I know that's kind of harsh to say, but it was really a driving force for me to make sure I had an education, to make sure that I had a career, that it was not left up to someone else to rely on my well-being, that I could be self-sufficient. And so that kind of set the tone for the rest of my life. And then early on, I started my career at 18. I fell into a job working for a high-tech PR firm, and it was woman-owned. And she saw something in me that she says, "Jill, have you ever thought of a career in marketing?" And I said, "What's marketing?" Like, I had no clue what I wanted to be when I grew up. But then, she mentored me. She sent me to school. She paid for half of my tuition. And she introduced technology to me, which, I really kind of, in high school, I was a cheerleader and things like that, but it didn't seem like it fit me. So when I fell into tech, I'm like, oh, I should have been like a techie all along, because I just loved it. I loved the way it just like pushed the world forward. And so she was a mentor to me, and she really saw something in me. So it's like, as a leader, I take that into heart, that when I see something in someone, I am going to exploit that for that person, and let them realize that that's a trait. So then my next mentor was a gentleman who was my boss. It was at a point in my career in, the .com era. I was grateful to be a part of it, because my career just kind of went like this, in the mid 90s. And so he was at this point where that hockey stick was, and he was my boss, and he was a jerk. Oh my gosh. But he had this like inner circle of people that once you permeated that inner circle, you were friends for life. So still to this day, we are friends. But he taught me the best lessons in life. One was that you take responsibility for your actions and never blame your team. If something goes wrong, it's your fault. Wow. If something goes right, it's your team that was successful. And so the buck stops here. And so learning that early on, people saw you as a leader. And then the next mentor I've probably had in my life is my husband. We've been married 20 years. Actually, October, it was 21 years, so forgive me, husband. He supports me being, a professional and being someone who's very driven. To him, that's very attractive, which I appreciate. He allows me to be me, and he pushes me forward, and he supports my activities and my desire to be a leader and to be a professional and to be a business owner. So having that partnership with someone has just been a godsend for the last, we've been together 23 years, since 1998. So it's going on 23 years. It's hard to say that. Wow, it's been fun. So good, time flies when you're having fun. And then the last person I would say is myself. And I know that sounds really strange, but, I've talked about digging deep, and I've talked about, just leading by example. It's, you talked about goals. It's setting a goal of how you want to be perceived and how you want to take your career. And everything that, you set that goal, you set that standard. And so everything that you do needs to be working towards that direction of achieving that goal. And so it comes from within. It comes from that personal drive. And you either, you say, I'm going to do this, or you're not. It's all up to you to achieve those goals. So those are my 5 mentors, I think, in my career.
Oh, that's great. So much wisdom from this panel of ladies. And, as a journalist, the sound bites, there's so many different little sound bites I would have pulled from what you all said, little nuggets of wisdom. And we owe you such a debt of gratitude for spending some time with us today.
Thanks for having us,
It's been a privilege to learn from you all and your experiences. Well, we've got a great audience out there, and we want to do some drawings for door prizes. If your name is drawn, your gift will be available for you to pick up here at the Waco Chamber between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. So, here we go. And these are all folks who pre-registered. So let's give away dinner for two at the Baylor Club and a one-night stay in a King Suite with breakfast at Home 2 Suites.
Nice.
In Waco. Stephanie Jackson. Stephanie Jackson. We're waiting for her to. Yeah, no, she's out there. somebody go. That's me.
Wouldn't that be great, Ann, to actually be able to do that soon?
Yeah.
All right, we have a beautiful. I wish you could see this. A beautiful clutch purse.
Hold the bowl for you.
Okay, you want to hold that? That'll be
I'll
good.
hold the bowl for
All
you.
right,
I got it.
Let's move these flowers out of the way. There we go. A beautiful clutch purse, colorful earrings, swig water bottle, and an $85 gift card to Desert Tan.
Nice.
All right, dig deep. We're talking about digging deep, right? Nicolasa Hernandez. Did I say that name right?
Oh, you know
Nicolasa, what a
her?
beautiful
That's cool.
name. Beautiful name. All right. All right, our third prize, a Merle Norman bag of goodies, including an anti-aging complex body lotion, brow gel, cheek crayon, along with an energizing concentrate and night complex.
Be funny if it was a man.
Hey, many
We
make
shall see.
those
We
things
shall
too.
see.
So
That is
it's
true.
all
I don't
right.
That
think
is
so.
true.
Lanita Lloyd. Lanita
It was a woman.
Lloyd. All right, congratulations to our winners out there. And again, you can come by the chamber offices and pick up your prize. Again, thank you to everyone who contributed to making this annual event a success. Another round of applause, if we would, virtual or otherwise, for our wonderful panelists. We've got a small studio audience in here, so a round of applause. Many thanks to our presenting sponsor, Bancorp South, for making today possible. We do hope that you were inspired, empowered, and challenged to expand your horizons by offering you tools as well as perspective to help further your leadership skills. Stay tuned for information about our next summit. It is scheduled for February 2021, and the way time flies, it'll be tomorrow, won't it? Things are going fast. But as I leave you today, I'd like to share with you a short poem by Laura Kelly Fannucci. When this is over, may we never again take for granted a handshake with a stranger, full shelves at the store, conversations with neighbors, a crowded theater, Friday night out, the taste of communion, a routine checkup, the school rush each morning, coffee with a friend, the stadium roaring, each deep breath, a boring Tuesday, life itself. When this ends, may we find that we have become more like the people we wanted to be, we were called to be, we hope to be, and may we stay that way, better for each other because of the worst. Thank you again. Have a great afternoon.